Salam, shalom, peace and blessings, everyone. Welcome to Universal God, Message of Peace. I'm Lale Tuncer. This is June Meagher, and
Hello.
we're both charity trustees for Universal God, Message of Peace. And today we're going to be talking about what brings us inner peace. So I'm going to start with asking June. June, what brings you inner peace?
Uh, so many different things, Lally. Being in nature is one of them. Maybe taking a walk along a beach or going through the woods or sitting and just meditating as such. The other week, I was sitting by the sea here in Port Patrick in Scotland and just opened my eyes, and a little pod of dolphins were just swimming softly by, and so that was a beautiful feeling. So nature brings a lot of peace. Knowing that my friends and family are well
Mhm.
brings peace.
Mm.
So there's very different aspects to me about peace, including financial, health. Knowing I'm in good health brings peace.
Mhm.
Knowing that, financially I'm okay, that brings great peace. So I'm really, really lucky that that inner peace, and it's a work in progress.
Mm.
Regardless of how much knowledge you accumulate or whatever you accumulate in life, it's still a work in progress. And um, it's sometimes, life is a struggle, regardless of who you are or what you've got or what you've not got. And but I think that inner peace is just knowing that all is well, and hopefully it's something that can be maintained, and knowing that I can control how I react to
Mm.
situations, so that rather maybe 40 years ago or 50 years ago I would have got wound up with things. Now I don't allow them to even touch me, simply because I know that I have no control over certain situations, and
Mhm.
therefore all I can do is be supportive if I can, or just let it go.
Mm. Letting it go, I think that's a very big one, isn't it? Letting go of sort of um, what do we need to let go of? What exactly do we need to let go of, June?
No, it depends. You know,
Or inner
there's
peace,
this.
what do we let go of?
Yeah, there's a lot of things that people can have in their life that they need to let go of. Stressful situations. And it's not maybe that they want to change, but they can't. They feel trapped.
Mm.
For example, if I've done stress management in businesses, then what you find is that a lot of people are doing jobs that they really don't like, but they do them because it brings in an income for their family, or it's going to give them a good pension at the end of their working life. What they don't really realize is that by continuing on that path of unhappiness, that they will eventually maybe not have a long life, that they could develop illnesses and end up really ill. So it's about, for me anyway, it's about letting go of situations. Sometimes some people will have to look after a family member and then be so proud that they feel that they're the only person that can look after them. So even though they're exhausted, they're worn out, they won't allow anybody to come in and help them. They feel, oh no, no, so it's about accepting help, and accepting maybe some advice as well sometimes that can help you. So there's lots of different things, I think, that you can sort of look at your in your life and say, can I let go of them, or how can I get some help towards them? Am I in a job that makes me happy, or can I change my job? Can I gain further skills? Can I, increase my toolbox, to help? Or if it really is the only thing that I can do, then how can I adapt? How can I change how I look at it or view it or feel about it, so that it doesn't cause me harm?
Oh, so many words of wisdom there, June. Thank you so
Oh,
much.
I don't know so much
Very
about
good. So you're so good at just putting things into, practical steps for all of us. Um, no, that's very, very good. I think you're right. I think many of us sort of have things we hold on to, whether it's people or situations, control, the need to, the feeling that we need to control the situation, and actually expectations from others, all these things that we could let go of, um, because we're not in control, are we? Of many things. We're not in control of it. And many of us spend time and energy worrying about the future. We don't know what tomorrow brings. Um, we
we
have
don't even know if we've got a tomorrow.
we don't know if we've got a tomorrow. Who knows what tomorrow will bring? And there's a huge relief that can come with just letting go of trying to control the future, trying to control how other people behave. We can do what we can according to what we can control, like removing ourselves from a situation that we believe causes us harm or causes other people harm. Um, but actually, there's very little we can actually control. So let's talk about what we can actually control and how can we use what we can actually control to bring us more inner peace. What can we control?
Oh, I think there's lots of things, but the main thing you can control is
Mhm.
your reactions to situations, your reactions to people, your reactions to the news, your reactions, so in general. So I think, we can control, if we can learn to control our reactions, then maybe that will help towards bringing that little bit more inner peace. So if you go to work and you know someone's a bully, do you put yourself in front of that person and leave yourself wide open? Do you report that person? Do you tend to ignore it? Feel sorry for them? Because usually you find that bullies in the workplace have been bullied themselves or are deeply unhappy or have some certain fears. Um, so I think, yeah, we need to look at, how we can control our sort of reactions. And one of the easiest ways to do that is just sit and breathe.
Mm.
If a situation arises and you feel as if you're going to get angry or sad or whatever, then just sit and breathe and try and think of nicer things that are happening in your life, or maybe memories that you've had that brought you great joy, so that when you're faced with a difficult situation or that, you can look at the nicer things rather than get angry, agitated, upset, tearful, you know.
Mm. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I completely agree. So, what can we work on to try and help us react in more positive ways? What you're saying is the way we react affects our inner peace. So, well, obviously, when we lose our patience, when we get angry, when we react, when we say things, because we're upset, we can't, it's all about controlling our emotions, isn't it? So how can we better control our emotions and channel them? So the negative emotions that we feel in certain situations, how can we learn ways to channel them in a way that brings ourselves more peace and more peace to those around us?
Well, for me, if something upsets me or gets to me, I tend to just look at what is it,
Mhm.
who is it, or what is it, and why. Why is that happening? Um, and it just sort of, what's my part in that?
Mhm.
Sort of looking at how's that come about? Why am I involved in it or whatever? And then I would sort of then look at, well, okay, do I need it in my life? Do I not need it in my life? Is it something that I cut out of my life? Or, and if that's not possible, then I sit and breathe. I just sit and breathe through it and try not to let it affect me. I mean, I remember years ago when I worked in a really manic sales office, by
Mhm.
the end of the month when you're getting your targets and things like that, people were just like wild, getting really agitated, getting really worried. We weren't going to get target, we weren't going to get bonus, we weren't going to get this. And, I really felt that that sort of way wasn't conducive to try and increase. So I would sit and just breathe and think, okay, what have we done? Who have we contacted? Who's left to contact? What else can we do? Stuff like that, and try and turn it into something a wee bit more positive, And most months we did meet the targets and everything was fine. So it was about just trying to control the whirlwind of thoughts that can take us on a journey of sort of self-destruction, really, if we
Mm.
allow them to sort of overwhelm us.
A lot of it, I think, comes from our brain, doesn't it? Our our way of expecting things to be a certain way. And when someone around us reacts in a way that it's not according to what we expect or what we hope or what we want, then that triggers us to, get angry or whatever. So I think it's important to also ask ourselves, why am I being triggered right now? Why is what this person said or what's happened in this situation, why is it making me have these emotions that I'm feeling? And like you said, ask ourselves those questions, sort of what's happening, why is this happening? Where do these emotions come from? Is it triggered because of past experience, my childhood experience, my past trauma? Is it triggering these negative emotions in me because um, I have, a negative assumption of this person? Am I judging them in a way, in a harsh way, or am I or is it me? Like, am I, what can this experience teach me? You know, because I think once we accept that everything happens for a reason, there's goodness that can be learned and wisdom that can be learned in even negative experiences. I think that might help us be more patient and help us to even look at those negative experiences with awe and pondering about them and be able to like take more control over our emotions. And what do you think?
Yeah, yeah. Oh, I think there's a lot of stuff in there. I think trying to live in the moment is important. I think what happens is we overwhelm ourselves with so many thoughts. So, for an example, when you were brushing your teeth this morning, were you thinking, oh, how lovely was this water? How nice this toothpaste made, tasted, how good your mouth felt, how clean your teeth were? Or were you thinking, I've got to answer those emails, I've got to take the dog a walk, I've got to do this, I've got to do that. So, it was
So
it's
live in the
really
moment.
were you thinking in the future
Mm.
or were you in the moment, when you were in the shower was, oh, this water's lovely, oh, it's clean, it smells nice, all of that, or were you got to get to work, got to get this done, got to get that done, got to do this. So a lot of people are always in the future in their heads. They're never really in the moment. And that's something that can be learned, but it takes a long time. And it's about trying to identify the triggers that, you know, arouse different emotions in you, if somebody says something or whatever. And a lot of it is looking at yourself and thinking, okay, why did I get angry about that? Why did I get this? Why did I get that? And then learning of ways to either avoid those situations
Mm.
or just to
Do you think
breathe
we should,
through it and leave them.
do you think we should be avoiding them? Because I think, a lot of us do this. We run away from negative
Yeah,
experiences.
I don't think it's about running away from it. I think it's, if say a family member's always going to be angry and hurtful and spiteful and nasty to you, no matter what you've tried to do to help them or whatever, then, you
Mm.
know, do you continuously go there and have that sort of anger? directed at you, or do you turn around and say, look, enough's enough and I can't do this anymore?
Mhm.
You know, it's what are your boundaries? What are you going to allow in your life, or what are you not going to allow in your life? And I think a lot of people sometimes don't have boundaries.
Mhm.
Well, and that can cause this conflict within themselves. It's a barrier to that peace. You
You're
know,
right. A lot of people, they go a bit too extreme, don't, I mean, we all do. I mean, I know I have as well in the past.
yeah, yeah.
And now, I struggle with that. Sometimes we can be too nice, or we can, when we go to an extreme, and we always think it's, best to sort of serve others. And, at what point do you say no? At what point do you have to say no and put those boundaries in to protect yourself? And I think so many of us struggle with that.
Yeah.
And then they end up being broken, they end up being burnt out, they end up being unable to function anymore and actually serve other people in the way that they wanted to, because they've not looked after themselves. And I think there's a lot of wisdom in what you're saying. We need to have boundaries. We need to be able to protect ourselves when we know that something is causing us harm. Because our bodies are like vessels, aren't they? To sort of, we have to look after
Yeah.
ourselves. We have to be even selfish to a point, to if the intention behind the selfishness is to be selfless, we have to balance between restraining and giving. Get that
See,
balance.
I think that's very true, but I think, I don't think it's selfish to look after yourself. I think that's probably about the kindest thing you can do for yourself is to look after yourself, to take moments for meditation. A lot of people, if they come in a meditation class, they say, oh, we find it difficult to have a moment for ourselves. And I find that really sad because there's plenty of opportunities when you have a moment to yourself. It could be when you're driving, it could be when you've arrived somewhere and you're a little bit early. So sit in the car worrying about things, or just sit and breathe and think nice things, or just look around and think, oh, that's a nice tree, that's a lovely cloud, that's, you know, do stuff like that. Or before you go to bed, go 5 minutes earlier and just sit and breathe in bed, which is a really nice way to sort of calm down. We don't tend to prepare ourselves for sort of peaceful moments. We always feel we have to be rushing and sort of doing stuff. So, I mean, and I'm choco busy, but I take a lot of time to myself. And I
Yeah.
take a lot of time, sort of meditating and looking. When I wake up in the morning, I'll sit and just be. And the same in the evening, sometimes at bedtime, if I haven't fallen asleep straight away, I'll just sort of sit and be for a few minutes just with my thoughts.
I think you're so right about what you said. And I think so many of us are rushing around. We're so busy. Life is so busy, and we feel like we have to do these things. We've got responsibilities, we've got work, we've got to pay the bills, and da da da. And we sort of
Got
lose.
to answer our phones, got to look at our messages, got to reply straight away, we've got to do this, everything's got to be instant.
There's no
Uh,
time to rest. We need to make time to rest, even if it's just one day a week, or just moments in your day. Break it up, have a bit of time to breathe and to focus and remember, why am I doing all of this? What is the ultimate purpose? What is the intention? And to connect back to that place, to give us that motivation to keep going. Because otherwise we do burn out and we forget why we're doing it, and we
yeah,
forget who we
yeah.
are, and we forget, about ourselves, and what you can lose enjoyment. It can bring you into a depression, because in a way you're living your life according to expectations of other people,
Yeah.
rather than yourself, rather than being true to who you really are and your values and principles. And it's so easy to forget, and and then you just lose yourself really. So I think what we're saying is that it's sort of, you'd recommend making time, whether it's in the morning when you get up, in the afternoon, throughout the busy day, throughout our busy schedules, to make time, even if it's just a few moments, to breathe and to sort of
One,
reflect,
30 seconds.
meditate, pray.
30 seconds, start with 30 seconds. If you've never done it before, if you sit and think, I'll sit quietly for half an hour, after 2 minutes, you'll be saying, is it half an hour yet? So
Yeah.
I always say, start with 30 seconds, just sit in the morning, you know, and just take a few deep breaths, 4 deep breaths, and that's fine. And then go into your car, get to your office, sit before you get out the car, just sit another few deep breaths, 10 seconds. And then go into the office, come out, sit in your car before you drive off, or if you come out the office and you're walking, just come outside and sit. 4 deep breaths, move on. And if you do that a couple of times a day, it'll soon add up to a minute or two. And then eventually, hopefully, you'll get to enjoy it and look forward to those few seconds of, for
So
yourself.
what if in those moments somebody's feeling really anxious, they can't breathe, they're feeling, I know it's good to slow your breath and sort of breathe, but what if someone's really struggling with anxiety? What does that tell a person, and what should they be doing to sort of get over that anxiety from your
Well,
perspective?
again, there's lots of people out there now that can help people with anxiety and severe stress and that. Again, you would have to sit and look at what is this I'm feeling? Why am I feeling like this? Sometimes it can be chemical as well. It could be that, a lady as she approaches a certain age in life can go through the change. That could be a hormonal problems that can bring into someone's life as well. You could have chemical imbalances in the brain for all sorts of reasons. So it's, sometimes it's good to get your vitamin levels checked, or your, sleep levels. Are you sleeping enough? Are you eating nutritious food? Are you eating nonsense? What's your lifestyle like? So you've got to look at what is the source of this anxiety, or what's the source of this sort of unease or within myself, and
So
how
let's say
can
you've
I do
been
it?
to the doctor. Let's say you've been to the doctor and they've checked your bloods, everything's fine. They can't find a physical cause for your symptoms. What do you think we should be asking ourselves, somebody who's, constantly suffering with anxiety? What questions could help us to sort of
I,
get...
I would start with looking at all the different areas of your life, your sort of relationships with your family, your friends, your partner, your neighbours, your work colleagues, maybe school if you've got children, all of these different aspects, your finances, everything. And we do what we call a little wheel of life. It's a wheel and it's in segments, and every part of your life is a segment, and it's 1 to 10 on the wheel. If you're deeply unhappy about something, then it's 1. If you're really fulfilled and happy about an area of your life, it's 10. No, nobody's ever going to have a perfect wheel, absolutely nobody. But what you want to do is, when you do this wheel, then identify which areas are I'm not happy with.
Mhm.
Why
Yeah.
am I not happy?
Hmm.
How can I change that? And sometimes we allow people to put all these stresses on us, etc.
Mm.
But we can put the most stress on ourselves. We can set the expectations for ourselves so high, you're always going to fail, and then you're always going to feel disappointed.
Mm.
And that's tragic, really,
Mm.
when you think about it, because you're setting yourself impossible goals, impossible missions.
Mm.
And I always say to people, start small. If your house is really cluttered and you need to get rid of stuff, start one drawer at a time. Don't try and do the whole house, because after 20 minutes you'll go, it's too much. But start with one drawer. If you've got so many commitments, okay, what are the commitments that you need at the moment? What are the ones you can let go of? So let's look at how we can
Okay.
let go of those. So look at all of the segments in your life. Where the areas of happiness come, try and do more of that. where the areas of unhappiness are coming in and draining you or making you feel exhausted or tearful or irritable or any of that. How can I change? What can I do? Can I get a grant to maybe go back to university or school or college? Can I go on a course? Can I maybe go for another job? Can I sort of look at maybe traveling? Maybe I need to go abroad. Maybe, so what options are up? There's always options. It's whether you choose to take them up.
Mm.
A lot of people, that I knew wanted to immigrate, but then the family commitments, they couldn't do that. So they felt very tied to their families and they spent a lifetime of regrets, and so I would think,
Sometimes it's difficult, isn't it, to know what you should do in that situation. You've got your responsibility, what you think
yeah,
you should be doing, even if you can't be happy doing it, and what you really think you want to do. But it's hard sometimes to distinguish between, um, what we might describe as selfish desires and selfless desires. And sometimes what seems selfless is more of a struggle and harder to do. And it might not be as enjoyable. If we want to eat a pizza, it might not be the right thing to do to eat too much pizza because
yeah.
we know that it's not good for us and to eat too much pizza. So I guess we could also say that greed and envy and lust and laziness and all these sort of base desires that are part of who we all, part of us. Is it right to say, well, actually, I enjoy those things, so that's who I am, and that's what I'm gonna do, and I'm gonna not not look after my kids as well, or I'm not gonna because they annoy me and they stress me out, or I'm not gonna call my parents because they could just go on and on, like the things that we feel like are good things to do. Is that what you're saying, or are you saying no, we just need to bring a little bit of that in?
I think this it's all about balance,
Mm.
isn't it? So okay, if you like pizza, then have it maybe one night a week or something like that, or twice a week, or do it with low fat ingredients or something like that if you think you're putting weight on. Um, if visiting certain family members or contacting them, then try and sort of set a time that you can do it, and then set a time limit on, 5 minutes, 10 minutes with the call or the visit or something like that, so that you can manage yourself. Because there's nothing worse if you're working all week and then going to visit somebody and they're going to keep having a go at you, and then you feel maybe getting bullied in the workplace, and then going to a family member and they're bullying you, and then you end up getting really, really upset. And
Mm.
then you go home and you're exhausted, and you've been trying to do your best at work, trying to do your best for the family member,
Mm.
and you're slowly and but surely becoming ill over a period of time.
I think you hit the nail on the head. It's all about balance, isn't it? I think if you sort of, there's a piece that comes with doing the right thing, even though it doesn't give you immediate gratification. But there's a lack of peace that comes with overindulging yourself too much in pizza or whatever, and actually, feeling bad afterwards, or it doesn't last. So I think it's important to ask ourselves, what is true peace? What is a true lasting peace? What brings us true lasting inner peace? And yeah, it's a big topic.
It's a huge topic. I don't know if there's such a thing as a true lasting peace. I think it's achievable to have a peaceful life, but it takes a lot of work. Um, I've discussed this with monks and nuns and different people over the years, and it is a battle for them, even if they live in isolation. There's the war, should I be doing this, should I be doing that, or whatever. But I think for that peace, sometimes you have to let go of situations, certain people, etc., and not feel bad about it and not have regrets.
That's a
You
good one, actually,
know,
because we're talking about worrying about the future, but actually, a lot of us live in regret of the past. So,
yeah.
and that can break our inner peace, can't it? So, how can we overcome the regret that we might feel for the past?
I don't know if, it depends what it is. I would imagine, thing to look at is, did you have a control over the situation that is regretful? And if the chances are that you probably didn't have, then you can't really worry about something that you didn't have control over. But if you've had control of a situation and, you made the wrong choice and regret that, well, maybe you just did the best at the time,
Mm,
even though on reflection it was maybe not the best. But at that particular time, you felt it was the best. So you can't um, sort of chastise yourself and regret decisions that you made that you thought were the best at the time, but turned out they weren't the best. I think
mm.
that's where people are really hard on themselves as well.
Yeah, I think we need to have a bit more compassion on ourselves, and we sometimes
Absolutely.
we sometimes label ourselves as, we have doubt in our inner goodness, and when we make mistakes, or fail in one way or another, or we allow others to, to call us names and label us as, certain negative labels, it's easy to believe that that's what you are. It's easy to
Oh,
get.
that's what happens from school, isn't it? And from childhood. You might have parents that put pressures or their opinions and everything onto you. You might go to school, you'll have a teacher that'll turn around and say, "Oh, you're bad at this, you're bad at that, you can't sing, you can't do this, you can't do that." And you, as a child, you believe it because you believe what these adults are telling you. This is your world as a child. And so if people are telling you you're incapable of something, then you believe that story. And, then when you grow up and you are allowed to make your own decisions and everything based on what you've been told as a child through either your parents, your siblings, your peers, your teachers, or whatever, will determine the decisions you make later in life. And it's sad, but a lot of people have very little confidence based on the stories they were told when they were children, and basically stripped away of their confidence. I think that's really sad. I think that is, then they feel helpless. They feel as if they're never going to achieve anything because, why should because you were told that you were hopeless at maths, or you were bad at English, or you were bad at this, or, you're never going to be anything. I think
How
that's really
can we,
sad.
so how can we be more forgiving to ourselves, because of things that we might be blaming ourselves for, in the past? How can what can we do to help us be more compassionate and
Well,
forgive?
I think, there's a huge question, and there'll be people out there that are much more qualified than me to say, how you could deal with certain situations. But I think, when you're a child, you really have no control over, your environment, your parents, your teachers, your home, your school, your friends, family members. You have really little control. So if you've been conditioned in a certain way, told you there's this, that, or anything, or forced to maybe become, say, like your father was this, so you're going to do that, in the family business or whatever. Um, I think when you've had no control and it affects you in later life, I think you've got to understand that it wasn't your fault, that,
Mm,
their comments were their opinions of you, and it's not necessarily the truth.
mm,
It was their comments and opinions of you were maybe based on their own biases or their own anger or their own regrets and jealousy or any of the other things that could happen. So, I think you've got to go inwardly and look at really, who am I?
mm,
What am I about? and what would I really like to do with my life? What would bring me some happiness? And then look at ways that you could achieve that.
Mm.
If it's, I want more time for myself, then how can you do that? There will be ways. Sometimes they're not always a way that everybody else likes, but there will be ways of doing that. I need more money. Okay, so how can you do that? Do you need to get another job? Do you need to upskill so that you can get a better job? How can you do that? So there is usually a lot of opportunities.
Mhm.
Do you take them or do you fear them? If you're scared of things, why am I scared of stuff? Why am I scared to go for that job? Why don't I think I'm good enough? How can I help myself overcome those fears, overcome those anxieties?
I hear a lot of questions, which I think is great because I think unless we ask the questions, we can't, you know, and why do we ask questions? It's because it's that seeking of higher truth, I guess, trying to
Mm,
discover who we are, who we really are, what are our values, our principles, what do we want, what do we really desire? Um, because unless we ask those questions, then we won't, we won't know, will we? So I think it's so important. And those questions might be different to each person because everybody's on their own journey to truth. And see, my understanding is that to truly to feel at peace is when we seek truth. We are constantly seeking truth, and it's an eternal journey. It's not something with it, you don't come to a stop. There's always higher truth. And that takes humility to understand that there is an understanding beyond my current understanding, letting go of my current understanding and opening myself up to new discoveries. And much of, I think, that treasure, that wisdom is in the dark places. It's in those painful experiences. It's in those traumatic experiences. It's in those negative experiences. It's in those difficult conversations. It's in the triggers, the emotions. It's in the darkness, really, that hidden light. And once we seek it and then we find it, then we have the ability, each according to our own potential and our own gifts, blessings, talents, whatever we've been given, to shine that light with others
mm,
and to actually use our intention, our thought, our speech, our behavior to shine that light that we've discovered to help other people. And I personally think that's, and by doing that, we're showing gratitude for life and we're showing gratitude to our creator and to life and the oneness within, our diversity, connecting to that and really fulfilling our purpose. I believe that that's what, and everybody's got a different purpose. And if we can seek truth and incline towards it and try to do justice by not doing unto others what we don't like being done to us. So learning from those negative experiences. And actually, there's a big thing that teaches us is, well, you know, these people said that I was this, that upset me because it put me in a box. It stopped me from reaching my true potential. So now I know not to do that to other people. Now I know that I'm going to try and believe in other people and the potential in others to try and help them believe in themselves. So that's one thing, for example, that we can learn from a negative experience like that. And so doing justice, treating others how we want to be treated. Um, and really, I don't mean, I like to eat pizza, therefore you have to eat pizza. Or
no,
I'll see you
no,
to
I get what you're saying.
I mean, with the same
Takes
kindness, respect,
yeah.
dignity, compassion, appreciation, forgiveness, mercy, patience, humility, the ways of peace, really, that we want others to treat us with, we should also try to treat others. And once we can achieve that, I believe I personally believe, it's a constant journey. We constantly getting, we can always be more compassionate. We can always be more forgiving. We can always be more grateful. But like you said, balance is so important. And actually, we forget that there's a role for, ego. There's a role for greed. There's a role for envy and lust. And actually, even these emotions that look like they're completely bad, I believe there's goodness in them, and even those emotions we can channel and transform them to serve our high purpose.
I think they're all part of us, aren't they? But it's keeping it in control.
Exactly. It's like riding the beast.
Yeah, yeah. Whatever way to say it, but I think um, how you are in adult life is based completely on what was going on for you as a child, and I think everybody has different experiences, and it's whether you believe those stories you were told about yourself, or whether you then look and reflect on yourself and think, okay, well, wait a minute, I'm quite a nice person, or I'm quite a kind person, or I might not have been great at this subject, but I'm really good at this subject. So it's getting to know your strengths, getting to know those weaknesses, and accepting them, and accepting that you're not going to be maybe what you hoped you were going to be or what you thought you were going to be, but at least giving it a go, and no letting people's interpretation of you stop you from being what you want to be.
Self-doubt is another big one, isn't it? Self-doubt. We forget
Yeah, huge,
we forget
huge.
our own potential. We forget our own inner goodness. You know, we live in regret, and it stops us. It prevents us from actually fulfilling our high purpose, from taking that leap of faith, which we sometimes need to do, to leave our comfort zone, to you know to break free really from being trapped within the labels that society labels us with, um, living our lives under masks and pretense and falsehood. Because
I
of
think I think
self-doubt, a lot of it is because we doubt ourselves, we doubt who our inner goodness. And there is a role for regret. If you're constantly making the same mistakes over and over again, it's difficult to have compassion on yourself, to forgive yourself because you knew that it's wrong and you carried on doing it. So I think if you can have compassion on yourself, if you look back and think, well, actually, did I know it was wrong? Did I know it would hurt the other person? If the answer is no, what was my intention behind it? If my intention was good, then I can have more compassion on myself and let it go, learn from it, and know not to do it again. And as long as I don't do it again, then it's easy to be at peace with that. But if you know that something's wrong, you reflected on it, and then you carry on, I think then it becomes more and more difficult then, doesn't it, to find that inner peace. And we are all witnesses to ourselves, really. I think we need to do this. We need to judge ourselves and we need to look at ourselves, but judge ourselves with sweetness. And I would say as well, my advice would be the more we try to see the good in other people, if you're finding it difficult, or if we're finding it difficult to have compassion on ourselves, then let's start by having compassion on somebody else. Like if you can try to see the goodness in another person and try to make excuses for them, as in you just think, well, maybe they've had a hard childhood, maybe, let's make excuses for them, even if it might not be very true, who knows? Let's try and make excuses. Let's try and think good of them, see their inner goodness. The more we do this, the more I think easier it will be to have compassion on ourselves as well. So it works both ways. And because and vice versa as well. How can we love another as ourselves if we don't even love ourselves?
Yeah,
So
I think that's very true. How we see ourselves is a big barrier as to how we conduct ourselves through life. And I think it's really sad to see people who are scared to go forward, who are very capable of maybe that promotion or that new job or this or that. But they have that fear that they're not good enough. And, as I said earlier, I think people put huge barriers and huge, things on themselves and don't believe in themselves, don't feel it, don't, there's a self-doubt, self-fear, all of these things. And I'm sure a lot of that's born out of childhood and growing up. And I think it's important to look at that, look at the aspects of yourself that you could work on. Oh, maybe I'm too greedy, maybe I'm too angry, maybe I'm too vengeful or lustful. It doesn't matter. Look at it. Why has that came about? There'll be a reason.
And it's never
And
too
then,
late. It's never
and it's
too
never
late.
too late to
As
change,
long as
but it's
you're breathing.
constant. It's
Exactly. Constant.
constant. Life is a constant opportunity to learn and to change, and to be a better person. Every minute is an opportunity to be a better person, whether you go maybe carry some old lady or old man shopping or help them on the bus, or whether you are in a situation to pay a friend's rent, or if you do this or do that, it doesn't matter. You've always got an opportunity to help somebody. And sometimes even just a smile
Yeah.
can make, somebody's day that, they could be
All
sitting
acts
there
of
deep.
kindness can go a long way
Yeah,
to.
yeah, yeah. Absolutely. So it doesn't really have to be, about giving something. Sometimes just even a wee smile can
Yeah,
help
because that
somebody feel
one
better.
smile can remind somebody else about their inner goodness too. It might give them
Yeah.
hope. They might be in, the same struggles or similar. We're all in our own struggles in our own ways. And it's easy to lose hope in humanity. It's easy to lose hope in your own potential. And actually, perhaps a way to start believing more in our own potential is to help, just smile, give a smile, or do a small
Yeah.
act of kindness to help somebody else, give them a little bit of hope. And and there is always hope. I think as long as, we've just got to keep moving, never give up. And I think our brain also comes in and says you're too far gone.
But
You
then
can't.
that's you, isn't it? This is the thing. Don't feed the fears. Don't keep giving the fears energy so that they become, controlling in your life. Sort of look at the good aspects of yourself and work on them. Look at the traits in your life that you don't particularly like about yourself and say, okay, how can I change that? And this takes complete honesty as well. And sometimes you'll feel, oh God, I shouldn't have said that, I shouldn't have done that, I shouldn't have, um, I could have been more compassionate. I could have been more forgiving. I could have been more this. I could have been more that. Um, it
There's
takes a
so
lot to look at yourself and to make changes, but it's possible and it's constant and
yeah.
there's always opportunities.
Let's always seek beauty. I think there's beauty in everything, even in the pain and the. I know it's awful to say that, but like actually, you know, I love just turning off the light sometimes and just sitting in the darkness
Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
just reflecting because, many of us are afraid of the darkness, whether it's the physical darkness, or the inner darkness. And I think the darkness sort of represents the unknown. And there's unknown parts of ourselves that it frightens us to go there. And it frightens us. But let's ask ourselves, why does it frighten us? And if we can actually, if somebody reminds us that there's treasures in that darkness, then perhaps we'll be okay with it and fear it less. And that nothing can actually destroy the essence of,
Yeah.
of where we are and where we come from, because that is indestructible. We have to believe in that because otherwise it's difficult to stand back up again. It's difficult not to be defeated when everything seems against you. But it's that inner goodness. We all have connection to that. As long as we're breathing, there is hope.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. As long as we're breathing, and that is the greatest tool that we have is the breath.
And I
Just to
love
sit and be and just breathe. Just to sit and be and just breathe and whether it's sitting in a park. I remember my crazy sales offices when I was young. I'd go to the toilet and just sit for 5 minutes and just breathe and then come back out and deal with it all again, you know. But I've said that to friends when they've got kids and things like that. Just go to the toilet and breathe for 5 minutes and then come out and face the riot again, you know. And I think be gentle with yourself as
Mm.
well, you know, show yourself as much love and compassion as you would show others.
Compassion.
Mm,
There's
mm,
so much beauty in human compassion that actually stems from our failures. It comes from the
yeah,
fact that
yeah,
we experience
mm,
suffering and pain, because then we can learn empathy and relate to the pain and suffering of others. And that's what makes us human. Like AI, artificial intelligence. Do we feel the compassion in it, really? When a person writes a poem and it comes from a human soul and the human, and it comes from a place of compassion, can we not feel the difference in the human behind
yeah.
the poem and the AI version of it? You
It's
know,
an interesting subject because I read that one of the chaps behind AI who worked for Google actually sees it as one of his huge regrets was in the creation of it. And he resigned for Google and now lectures globally um, on the dangers of it. I believe that AI is brilliant for certain things, as is everything can be good. Um, but I think it's no good that feeling, as you say, I could write a poem from the heart, you can write it. We can each read each other's poems and we'll feel.
yeah,
And I think AI is very cold and
exactly.
it's
And
it's or it's very impersonal. So yeah.
and a lot of this compassion comes from our imperfection.
Mm. Oh
So
yeah, yeah,
so much
yeah.
beauty. There's so much beauty in our imperfections that actually we realize, now we've got AI.
Mm.
Maybe a good thing about it is that it will really help us to appreciate, the beauty of humanity, even the imperfections, and to accept that there is, wisdom and love and goodness in everything. Um, sometimes beyond our understanding, but it's a
Yeah,
journey that we can all share together and
yeah. And we can help each other
help each
as
other.
well.
Let's just keep helping each other and try to purify our intentions, always to try and keep our intentions pure, simple, um, find the good balance
Yeah,
between saying no and, trying to do our best to help each other. And
yeah.
and hopefully
And that gives you peace. Yeah.
yes. And seek that inner peace, keep seeking the inner peace, seek the truth, and keep trying, never to give up. Let's just keep going.
Yeah,
Perseverance.
absolutely. Absolutely. You got it.
Well, lovely,
Perseverance.
yeah, lovely to speak to you, June. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah, no, thank you. Thanks again for a nice
Peace and blessings,
conversation.
and God bless you all.
Yeah,
Um, all right, take care.
thank you. Take care. Bye bye.